We were told to keep it moving. Get in, get out, don't stay too long. Take the best and leave the rest. Call it right, call it wrong. I was taught to trust the numbers, lines drawn straight across the land. Never asked what came before us, never felt it in my hands. Funny how quiet things carry us the most. So I'm learning how to slow down, put my feet back on the ground, leave a little for tomorrow, let what's broken stick around. I don't need to fix the whole world, I don't need to play that part. If you take care of the roots, love, the rest grows from the heart. I've seen black soil after fire, holding more than it should know. Every ending feeds another, if you give it time to grow. Nothing wasted, nothing empty, just a longer point of view. What we bury turns to shelter, if we're patient, if we choose. Some things don't come back louder, they come back strong. So I'm learning how to slow down, use my hands, not just my name. Treat the ground like it remembers every loss, every gain. I don't need a bigger answer or a place that leaves a mark. If you take care of the roots, love, the rest grows from the heart. Yeah. We're not standing over something, we're standing in it still. Every breath is borrowed, every harvest bends to will. If we stop calling it dirt, start calling it home, we might find it's been forgiven longer than we've known. Yeah, I'm learning how to slow down, let the long way be the way. Planning open small decisions that keep showing up each day. I don't need to change the ending, I don't need to be that smart. If you take care of the roots, love, the rest grows from the heart. Yeah. So I leave a little behind me, more than smoke into the dark. If you take care of the roots, love, the rest grows from the heart. We borrowed more than we remembered, promised we'd bring it back. Said the road was only temporary, said the marks would fade to black. Hands got dizzy, eyes got narrow, deadlines louder than the rain. Somewhere between the asking, we forgot to say your name. Funny how the debt doesn't knock, it just waits. We took what grew in silence and called it fair exchange. Left the balance to the future, left the cost outside the frame. I'm not saying we were careless, just learning what it meant. Some things don't need forgiveness, they need to be repaid in time. I've seen fields hold their breath when the last machine rolls through. like they're wondering if this season is still going to include them too. There's a patience in the waiting that we never tried to learn. We kept asking for a yield without asking what we'd earned. You can't rush a cycle that remembers everything. We took word brewing silence and called it fair exchange. Left a balance to the future, left the cost outside the frame. I'm not here to point a finger or rewrite where we have been. Some things don't need forgiveness, they need to be returned again. Maybe care is just attention given back before it's gone. Maybe love is simply noticing what's still holding on. Not every loss is failure, not every gain is clean. The truest wealth I've seen is what keeps feeling unseen. We took what grew in silence, now we're learning how to stay, listening for what the ground asks when the noise is stripped away. I don't need a perfect system or a world without regret, just a way to leave something back now, more than words I meant to say. Some debts aren't paid in money, they're paid by how you choose to stay. I stopped waiting on permission, stopped looking for a sign, put my boots back in the morning, let the questions fall behind. There's a kind of truth in effort that no theory ever holds, what the body understands long before the mind gets told. Some lessons don't arrive as words, they arrive as days. My hands learn first, my head comes later. I don't need to know the end to know I'm getting closer. I trust the work that doesn't rush, the kind that leaves a mark, not on paper, not on stone, but in the way things start. I've watched mistakes turn into method when they're given room to stay. Every scar becomes a reference for a better way. You can feel the ground respond when you start trying to win, like it's less about the taking and more about letting in. You don't force a conversation, you show up, and my hands learn first, my head comes later. I don't need the final shape to be a participant. I trust the rhythm underneath, the patience in the dark, not everything that matters a spark. Oh, repair is not a moment, it's a practice. Or return 1,000 small adjustments until something learns. It's not about control, it's about care. What you repeat is what you declare. Yeah, my hands are first. I'm still learning what to leave and what to keep, what to carry, what to turn. And I don't need a perfect answer or a future drawn in charts. I just show up where I am. Let the hands do their part. Yes, there's wisdom in the soil. It's this: stay long enough, and something will meet you halfway. I used to think that patience was just waiting in disguise, something you endure politely till the real work arrives. But time isn't an obstacle, it's the shape of every change, every lesson that kept working long after we walked away. You don't hurry a horizon, nothing grows on demand. Nothing good, nothing real. You can push and you can measure, but you can't rush how things heal. There's a rhythm underneath us that the clock won't understand. Nothing grows on demand. I watch seeds ignore instruction, do it their own quiet way. Miss the schedule, miss the target, still arrive right on their day. Every shortcut leaves a footprint, every hurry leaves a scar. There's a cost to every harvest that forgets how slow we are. Some outcomes need surrender, not force. Nothing grows on demand. Nothing meant to last. You can't take a moment early, but you pay it back in halves. If you listen long enough, you'll hear the land. Nothing grows on demand. Time isn't wasted, it's invested. Every pause is part of it too. What looks like nothing happening is something learning how to become true. Nothing grows on demand. Not trust, not rules, not grace. There's a reason every living thing moves at its own pace. If we let go of the deadline, let the long way stand, we might finally grow something that can hold us in its hands. I'm done arguing with seasons. I'm done racing what I can. Nothing grows on demand. Oh, ooh. I won't leave behind instructions or a map with every turn. Just a way of doing things that something else can learn. I don't need to carve my name into anything that lasts. I'd rather leave a place intact than proof that I once passed. Some things are taught by staying out of the way. I wanna hand down what still holds, not what shined for a while. Something strong enough to carry weight, something gentle enough to trust a child. I don't need to be remembered, I don't need a photograph. If what remains can stand on its own, that's more than enough of that. I've seen care turn into structure when it's given room to stay. How the quiet choices multiply long after we're away. You don't pass on what you claim, you pass on what you repeat. Every habit leaves a language, every path teaches feet. The future listens, even when we don't. I wanna hand down what still holds, not the rush, not the burn. Something built to take its time, something willing to return. The ground keeps getting bad, and I know what we made was real. Legacy is in a moment, it's a pattern, a way of treating what you touch. Choosing what you reinforce when no one's watching, when no one's keeping score, when it cost you more than love. Yeah, I wanna hand out what still holds, what doesn't break when I'm gone. Something patient enough to wait, something honest enough to go on. I don't need to find a word, I don't need to leave a mark. If what comes next can stand upright in the quiet, in the dark, I won't tell them what to believe or how the story should unfold. I'll just leave behind the kind of care that knows how to hold. I don't need a guarantee or a promise written down. I've seen enough return on its own when we stop chasing it around. There's a strength in what survives without applause or defense. What remains when we stop pushing is often still enough. Not everything needs saving. Some things need space. I think we'll be alright. Not because it's easy now, but because we finally know what not to take, what to leave alone. There's a future in the patience, there's a kindness in restraint. If we keep choosing carefully, what we touch might choose to stay. I've watched the land forgive us, not quickly, not for free, but steady in a way. It offers one more chance to see. No grand design, no rescue, just attention, just repair. Turns out hope isn't loud, it's simply showing up with care. You don't earn trust by asking, you earn it by staying. I think we'll be alright. Not because we're done learning, but because we learned enough to stop pretending we're in charge. There's a future in the listening, there's a peace in doing less. If we keep our hands open, what remains might do the rest. Hope isn't blind, it remembers what rushing cost, what patience gives. It's not a promise, it's a practice, a way of choosing how to live. Yeah, I think we'll be alright. Not perfect, not immune, but waking up to notice when something starts to bloom. There's a future that doesn't need us to be louder or more clever, just careful in the ways that let things last a little longer. I'll leave the fire burning now, not gone, not right, just enough to find our way back again.